All right, there's been a spate of attacks on public transport, on Golden Arrow buses in Cape Town in the last week or so. And the city today has met with Avanza drivers to try and find a solution. There's been a clampdown on illegal operators that has led to the flare-up of attacks on buses, and other vehicles. And protests today block roads in Hout Bay. Let's get an update now from the Cape Town Mayco member for transport, Rob Quintas. Rob, first of all, I want to just chat to you about what happened last week with the Golden Arrow buses and what happened in Hout Bay. Now, the people protesting today said that it wasn't linked to what happened last week. What is your understanding of the root cause of today's protest and possible links to the attacks we saw on Golden Arrow buses last week?
Thank you, Sally. So the public violence that was experienced throughout the morning and into the afternoon in Hout Bay, as we understand it through our preliminary discussions with people involved in that protest, is that it's largely stemming from the Hout Bay Taxi Association and the grievances that they are maintaining are that they were not part of the Phase 1 My City compensation rollout, which happened several years ago when the route from Camps Bay to Hout Bay was established, and all the legal operators along that route were then bought out and compensated. So that entire matter is in front of the courts at the moment and is sub judice. However, we have been engaging them on an ongoing basis, and tomorrow our taxi engagement unit here from the City of Cape Town, along with our regulatory staff, will be meeting with a delegation from the Hout Bay Taxi Association as well as leadership from Imizamo Yetu to discuss the way forward outside of the court case. In other words, interim ways of keeping peace and ensuring that the roads in Hout Bay remain open and safe.
All right, I want to play you this clip because our reporter Nobusito Ejana was speaking to Sanko a little earlier. This is Samkelo Krueke, I think is how you say his name. He's talking about the issue of permits and compensation. But he has a problem with the way the city has been communicating or not communicating. Just take a listen, we can chat afterwards.
Our permits are very a small number. This association used to have 84 permits. But now the problem that we're facing, if you go and try and renew your permit, they come out with refusal. They say it's refused. No one is giving explanation why is it refused, but it's just been refused. So they are trying to take the business away from us. The question that we have, all these members who have been doing this, what they must do when they don't have the permits, because when they know exactly that you are operating with no permit, they come and take the vehicles, they are impounding it, they take the money away from you.
All right, so if you listen to what he's saying is that we keep getting refused when we try and get permits. No one tells us why, and we've got a very small number of allotted permits. So why aren't you giving reasons for refusing permits?
So, Lindsay, I know that Mr. Kwekwe was on the screen representing the South African National Civic Organization. However, I think it's also important to mention that he is a part of the Hout Bay Taxi Association and himself owns several taxis operating around the area. Now, our meetings today in Nyanga once again confirmed that the city is always willing to suggest to the provincial regulatory authority, who in fact manage the permits of all minibus taxis under which the Mapela or sedan taxis are a subcategory. Renewals are generally not withheld unless someone has, for example, their driver's license or public driver's licenses have lapsed, or the vehicles are unroadworthy, or they are operating outside of the ambit of a formal taxi association. So I would be very interested to know exactly when these permits were applied for that were refused by the provincial regulatory entity, as the process is generally straightforward, and we've committed as well to the taxi operators within the Nyanga area today that the city and province are willing to help renew those as long as people apply and put their paperwork in a way that is conducive for it to move quickly, and most importantly, that the vehicles are safe for commuters and that the drivers have valid public driver's licenses that have not lapsed or expired.
You say you're having a meeting tomorrow. Are you confident that there's going to be no more disruptions?
I can only hope that that's going to be the case. We will be meeting with them in good faith. As I mentioned, our extremely competent and experienced taxi engagement unit will be facilitating that meeting in the CBD. We'll be providing transport for representation from Hout Bay Taxi Association and eNCA, etc., to come through to the Civic. And the people who are skilled in these negotiations will continue to work with them, bearing in mind that the concerns around compensation are in front of the court. And that court application was actually filed by the Hout Bay Taxi Association, not the City of Cape Town. We are, in fact, a respondent to that. So that itself is going to be very difficult to discuss when the matter is in a legal process and the city awaits the outcomes and findings of the court.
I understand.
But, I
want to jump in quickly. You mentioned that in terms of the issuing of permits problem, which was highlighted by the eNCA member and member of the Hout Bay who owns taxis, will you have a provincial representative at that meeting to try and get an answer to the question that he's raised, where he says he's not given a reason why he doesn't get his permit when he applies?
So as the interface between those operating within the City of Cape Town and the provincial government, we will certainly make note of those instances referred to, and we will then escalate that up to the provincial regulatory entity and, where possible, ensure that permits that are available and that have lapsed, or where whatever assistance is needed for those to be renewed if necessary, we will certainly act in good faith in order to do so. But it's important to remember that we cannot allow, many of the impoundments are not simply about unpermitted drivers. They're about unroadworthy vehicles. They're about drivers who are driving without a driver's license, let alone a public driver's license. This is a safety issue for commuters more than it is an enforcement issue for permits. So I think that it's important for that fact to be out there. The same applied to Nyanga. And of course, the Hout Bay challenges of today are stemming largely from unhappiness around the dispute in front of the courts around the compensation on phase one.
All right, Rob Quintas, City of Cape Town Mayco member for Transport. Good luck. Let's hope those negotiations resolve in a good agreement between all parties. Let's move now to this story.